Chapter 10. The Protective Aura by William Walker Atkinson. Among the very oldest of the teachings of occultism, we find instructions regarding the building up and maintenance of the protective aura of the individual, whereby he renders himself immune to undesirable physical, mental, psychic, or spiritual influences. So important is this teaching that it is to be regretted that there has not been more said on the subject by some of the writers of recent years. The trouble with many of these recent writers is that they seem to wish to close their eyes to the unpleasant facts of life and to gaze only upon the pleasant ones. But this is a mistake, for ignorance has never been a virtue, and to shut one's eyes to unpleasant facts does not always result in destroying them. I consider any teaching unfinished and inadequate which does not include instruction along protective lines. Physical auric protection consists in charging the aura with vital magnetism and color, which will tend to ward off not only the physical contagion of ill persons, but, what is often still more important, the contagion of their mind and feelings. The student who has really studied the preceding chapters will at once realize that this protection is afforded by filling the aura with the vibrations of health and physical strength, by means of the mental imaging of the life-preserving reds, and the exercise of the mind in the direction of thought of strength and power. These two things will tend to greatly increase the resistive aura of anyone and enable him to throw off disease influences which affect others. The aura of the successful physician and healer, in the presence of disease, will invariably show the presence of the bright, positive red in the aura, accompanied by the mental vibrations of strength, power, and confidence, and the absence of fear. This, in connection with the Auric Circle, which shall be described presently, will be of great value to healers, physicians, nurses, etc., as well as to those who are brought into intimate contact with sick persons. Of practically the same degree of importance is the charging of the aura with the vibrations of mental protection, viz., the vibrations of orange, yellow, and similar colors. These are the colors of intellect, you will remember, and when the aura is charged and flooded with them, it acts as a protection against the efforts of others to convince one against his will, by sophistical arguments, plausible reasoning, fallacious illustrations, etc. It gives to one a sort of mental illumination, quickening the perceptive faculties and brightening up the reasoning and judging powers, and finally, giving a sharp edge to the powers of repartee and answer. If you will assume the right positive mental attitude and will flood your aura with the vibrations of the mental orange-yellow, the mental efforts of other persons will rebound from your aura, or, to use another figure of speech, will slip from it like water from the back of the proverbial duck. It is well to carry the mental image of your head being surrounded by a golden aura or halo at such times. This will be found especially efficacious as a protective helmet when you are assaulted by the intellect or arguments of others. And again, there is a third form of protective aura, namely protection of one's emotional nature. And this is highly important when one remembers how frequently we are moved to action by our emotions, rather than by our intellect or reason. To guard one's emotions is to guard one's very inmost soul, so to speak. If we can protect our feeling and emotional side, we will be able to use our reasoning powers and intellect far more effectively, as all know by experience. What color should we use in this form of auric protection? Can anyone be in doubt here if he has read the preceding chapters? What is the emotional protective color? Why blue, of course. Blue controls this part of the mind or soul, and by raising ourselves into the vibrations of positive blue, we leave behind us the lower emotions and feelings, and are transported into the higher realms of the soul where these low vibrations and influences cannot follow us. In the same way, the blue-colored aura will act as an armor to protect us from the contagion of the low passions and feelings of others. If you are subjected to evil influences or contagion of those harboring low emotions and desires, you will do well to acquire the art of flooding your aura with the positive blue tints. Make a study of bright, clear blues, and you will instinctively select the one best suited for your needs. Nature gives us this instinctive knowledge, if we will but seek for it, and then apply it when found. The aura of great moral teachers, great priests and preachers, advanced occultists, in fact all men of lofty ideals working among those lower on the moral scale, are always found to be charged with a beautiful, clear blue, which acts as a protection to them when they are unduly exposed to moral or emotional contagion. Ignorance of the occult laws have caused the downfall of many a great moral teacher who could have protected himself in this way, in times of strong attack of low vibrations, had he but known the truth. The individual who knows this law, and who applies it, is rendered absolutely immune from evil contagion on the emotional plane of being. The Great Auric Circle. But no occult instruction on this subject would be complete without a reference to the Great Auric Circle of Protection, which is a shelter to the soul, mind, and body against outside psychic influences directed, consciously or unconsciously, against the individual. In these days of widespread, though imperfect, knowledge of psychic phenomena, it is especially important that one should be informed as to this great shield of protection. Omitting all reference to the philosophy underlying it, it may be said that this auric circle is formed by making the mental image, accompanied by the demand of will, of the aura being surrounded by a great band of pure, clear white light. A little perseverance will enable you to create this on the astral plane, and, though, unless you have the astral vision, you cannot see it actually, yet you will actually feel its protective presence, so that you will know that it is there guarding you. This white auric circle will be an effective and infallible armor against all forms of psychic attack or influence, no matter from whom it may emanate, or whether directed consciously or unconsciously. It is a perfect and absolute protection, and the knowledge of its protective power should be sufficient to drive fear from the heart of all who have dreaded psychic influence, malicious animal magnetism, so-called, or anything else of the kind, by whatever name known. It is also a protection against psychic vampirism or draining of magnetic strength. The auric circle is, of course, really egg-shaped or oval, for it fringes the aura as the shell cases the egg. See yourself, mentally, as surrounded by this great white auric circle of protection, and let the idea sink into your consciousness. Realize its power over the influences from outside, and rejoice in the immunity it gives you. The auric circle, however, will admit any outside impressions that you really desire to come to you, while shutting out the others. That is, with this exception, that if your inner soul recognizes that some of these desired influences and impressions are apt to harm you, though your reason and feeling know it not, then will such impressions be denied admittance. For the white light is the radiation of spirit, which is higher than ordinary mind, emotion, or body, and is master of all. And its power, even though we can but imperfectly represent it even mentally, is such that before its energy and in its presence in the aura, all lower vibrations are neutralized and disintegrated. The highest and deepest occult teaching is that the white light must never be used for purpose of attack or personal gain, but that it may properly be used by anyone, at any time, to protect against outside psychic influences against which the soul protests. It is the armor of the soul, and may well be employed whenever or wherever the need arises. Throughout the pages of this little book have been scattered crumbs of teaching other than those concerning the aura alone. Those for whom these are intended will recognize and appropriate them. The others will not see them and will pass them by. One attracts his own to him. Much seed must fall on waste places, in order that here and there a grain will find lodgment in rich soil awaiting its coming. True occult knowledge is practical power and strength. Beware of prostituting the higher teachings for selfish ends and ignoble purposes. To guard and preserve your own will is right. To seek to impose your will upon that of another is wrong. Passive resistance is often the strongest form of resistance. This is quite different from non-resistance. End of chapter. End of book.